Good morning for those of you in the United States, and good evening for those of you from Dubai. Thank you very much for joining our Expo 2020 Dubai, a regional platform of opportunity for U.S. states and businesses webinar. Before we begin today's webinar, we do have a few housekeeping details to make sure everyone gets the most benefit from today's webinar. Everyone's line will be muted. And also, we will, after everyone speaks, we will have a Q&A session. You can type in your question in the Q&A panel section on the right-hand side of your screen. We also welcome your comments, and if you do have a comment, please write them in the chat panel, which is also located at the right-hand side of your screen. This webinar will be recorded, so once again, please type in your questions and your chats. Thank you. With that, I'd now like to introduce our first speaker for today, which is Amy Tavine. She's a U.S. Commercial Service Team Lead for the Middle East and Africa Global Team. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you, Linda. Welcome to all our participants today. And Expo 2020 Dubai USA Pavilion Informational Webinar. We are thrilled to have so many businesses, economic development organizations, state and municipal governments with us today to find out more about how you can take advantage of the USA Pavilion. At the end of our presentation, as Linda has mentioned, we will have an opportunity for questions. So please, jot those down as they come up. And a speaker today is our Regional Senior Commercial Officer for the Arabian Gulf, Thomas Brunt. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Amy, and thank you all for joining today's session. As Amy mentioned, I'm the Regional Senior Commercial Officer based in Abu Dhabi, covering the Gulf region. You'll hear shortly from our next speaker about how city and state delegations, business associations, and companies can participate in the USA Pavilion. The World Expo in Dubai will be a 6-month event visited by high-level dignitaries and millions of visitors. It's a venue to feature the latest in innovation and technology. While it's not a trade show, the Expo provides an excellent platform for meeting key government officials and leading UAE business. It is also an opportunity to showcase thought leadership in your industry and speak on topics where your region or company has developed new approaches. That may be a city or state showing its innovative steps in healthcare, a business delegation seeking new partnerships, or a company implementing groundbreaking technology. For organizations with a strong on-the-ground presence in the UAE, you may want to work directly with the Expo unit at the State Department to book time to use the pavilion. For other organizations that may need assistance promoting, arranging, or organizing an event, the Commercial Services UAE team that I lead is a great resource for you as well. As part of our Discover America umbrella of options, we offer fee-based services to help promote U.S. business and exports, such as arranging a networking session or promoting an event, and we can do that at the pavilion. For delegations seeking to attract inbound investment in the United States, we can also help you make those contacts in the UAE. One area where we are working directly with U.S. exporters during the Dubai Expo is our Trade Wins trade mission. That trade mission will take place in March 2022 at the tail end of the Expo and is the flagship mission for the Commerce Department. This will be the first time the mission comes to the Middle East. While Trade Wins will be held separately from Expo, having the opportunity to both participate in the trade mission meetings and visit the World Expo in Dubai opens unique opportunities. For any groups planning to organize a delegation to the Expo, please let us know as early as possible to ensure any support you may need to arrange meetings or other events. For anyone interested in learning more about Tradewinds, you can reach out to the commercial service directly, and my team is ready to support you. With that, thank you very much, and we look forward to supporting you for this unique opportunity, which is Expo Dubai.
Wonderful. Thank you, Thomas. Next up, we have a 2-minute video marking the substantial completion of the Expo Pavilion. And that'll be up any second now. There we go. All right, great. Next up, we will hear from Matthew Asada, who is our Deputy Commissioner General for the Expo 2020 Dubai USA Pavilion. And he is based at the consulate in Dubai. And he will tell you a little bit more about the event and how you might be able to participate in it. Matthew, over to you.
Great. Thanks, Amy and Thomas and Linda for all your work in putting this event together. Excited to see so many people here online. And I think that video did a great job of just showing what the pavilion is all about and capturing some of the excitement for this incredible World's Fairs. So what we're going to do, next slide, is just take you through a little bit of the story of what this is. What is this event? Where is Dubai? What are the theme weeks, business forums? How can you participate, as Thomas already laid out a couple of options, in city, state days and trade delegations? Next slide. So one of the things that we're constantly asked is, what exactly is an expo? What is a World's Fair? And on the slide, you can see that international expositions, World's Fairs, World Expo, this is the same thing that the United States is pretty familiar with from the 19th century and 20th century, but we haven't had one here in the United States since 1984. But the world has continued to host these expositions, and the latest large World's Fair of this scale was in 2015 Milan. So as it says, the World Expos are held on the aughts and the fives, and there might be smaller specialized expositions in between. Next slide. World's fairs are not dead trade shows, tents, circus, carnival, or state fair, or only held in a couple of countries or only attended by a couple of countries. Rather, next slide, they are events where the whole world comes together. And here are some of the U.S. pavilions at past World's Fairs. They're large and inspiring, huge crowds. We've had trade delegations. And a very important part of this is it's an opportunity to tell the story of America and demonstrate American culture, whether it's in our youth ambassadors, our pavilion guides, whether it's in our cultural performers and our speakers. And what we're talking about today, our business community, our thought leaders, our innovators and entrepreneurs. And Dubai really is a great place for that audience. Next slide. So what is Expo 2020 Dubai? It's the first World's Fair to be held here in the Middle East, and it's the first post-pandemic global mega event. The world will come together in Dubai in October 1st of this year, 4 times the size of Disneyland. 192 international participants, corporations, organizations that are exhibiting in pavilions that they build, like the United States, or in ones that are already built and they fit out, such as the countries that are in the petals here in this image. There's going to be restaurants, live shows. Expo 2020 has built about 14 different venues that we can actually use as the international participant for a speaker or for a performing artist. We expect more foot traffic here than the 2018 Olympics or the 2018 World Cup. And while the final visitor numbers are not yet known, or they haven't released a new projection, the organizers initially expected around 25 million visits during the 6 months. And the U.S. Pavilion is expecting about 4 to 5 million visit tours during that time. So you're going to have a great audience to speak with and engage. Next slide. As I mentioned, these are pre-COVID estimates. We're expecting to have some new numbers out here in the next couple of months. But what is fascinating is because this is the first event ever to take place in the Middle East, and Dubai's position at the meeting point of the Middle East, North Africa, and South Asia, we expect to get incredible demographic diversity in who attends. And so you can see here more than 3/4 international visitors. About 2/3 of the visitors to the Expo will be internationals. And you can see here the breakdown of kind of where they come from emerging markets and non-emerging markets. And this could be of interest to your city or state or your business as you're seeking to expand in the region. India, one of the top markets, as you can see here, and one that we're keeping in mind for our programming as well. Next slide. I'll just pause here for a second. You can take this in. Why is Dubai such an ideal location for hosting one of these events? Again, it has logistics support, the trade and travel connections, global financial hub. And what's exciting actually about the Expo 2020 site is that after the Expo itself, they're turning it into this new district, Expo, the 2020 district. And for companies that are interested in expanding their presence overseas and doing more business, there are actually very interesting offers right now as they try to build up, that startup economy with accelerators there in District 2020 itself. Next slide. So how can you, today on this call, cities, states, economic development organizations, businesses, engage with Expo? So I'll give you 3 different ways that you might be able to participate. 1, you may decide that you want to bring actually a delegation that spans, again, the commercial side and the cultural space to participate in one of the theme weeks that I'm going to describe shortly. 2nd, you may say that you want to do a city or state day at the U.S. Pavilion that coincides with your visit. Third, you may just look at doing some programming, business or cultural programming during the event itself with thought leaders, speakers, political representatives. So we'll go into a little bit more detail as we go out through the presentation. And please, if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat feature, or you can hold them here to the end. Next slide. So Expo 2020 has done something very exciting this time around. 6 months can be an incredibly long event, as any of you in the business know. And so how do we ensure that we're getting a critical mass of people from certain sectors during certain weeks? And so for the first time, Expo 20, or a World's Fair organizer, has organized, theme weeks. And so here you can see 11 different theme weeks that are taking place throughout the 6 months. And some of these speak very strongly to U.S. strengths in industry and what the pavilion itself is deciding to feature. They also coincide with some of the large trade shows that take place on an annual or biannual basis. So this is one way that the U.S. Pavilion is organizing its business programming and its cultural programming. And if your city or state or if your sector is particularly interested in one of these themes, we encourage you later to get in touch with us to figure out maybe that's the time when you want to come to Expo 2020. But no time is a bad time. And as I can tell you right now, the weather during these 6 months is fantastic. It's a great time to be here, and you surely can't go wrong. Next slide. So during those theme weeks, Expo 2020 is actually putting on the Tuesday of each week, Thematic Business Forum. And these are smaller events that Expo 2020 is curating, and each of the international participants has an opportunity to send delegates to these small closed-door sessions. So about 300 people are selected from all around the world for these different themes that you see listed on the screen. But this is an opportunity that if you decide to come to during one of those weeks, and if you're bringing, again, a innovator or a leader in one of these spaces, please get in touch with us so we can think about programming that person during one of those thematic business forums. This could be a small company doing something very innovative, it could be a startup, or it could be an established Fortune 50, 100 company that wants to help tell its story. There's actually a building right on Expo 2020, the Business Connection Center, that will be used for all of these thematic business forums. But in addition to the Expo 2020 organized events, we will also be organizing speakers at the USA Pavilion, at our stage outside, at our VIP space upstairs, or these 14 different venues that Expo 2020 has built across the site. Next slide. These are some of the trade shows that you might already be familiar with. Foreign Commercial Service here helps to support American participation in several of them. But these are the ones that we're flagging as taking place during Expo 2020 itself. All of these taking place in Dubai, with the exception of Abu Dhabi, which is listed here. But that's a great opportunity, knowing that there's already going to be, again, large business delegations coming in town for some of these things. What's not listed here is the International Astronomical Congress, better known as the Space Congress, that's taking place. So there's actually a Space Week at Expo 2020, and there's a Space Congress immediately thereafter. And we, first time ever happening here in the Middle East, and we expect a lot of people that are in the space industry to come out here for those events, and we are planning to do several things with them at the U.S. Pavilion. Next slide. USA Pavilion, our theme is Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of the Future. We have an amazing exhibition that's been designed by Thinkwell Group, a Los Angeles-based creative company. And we have a great location on the Expo 2020 site, very close to the UAE Pavilion, backing up to Al Forsan Park, giving us a great space for indoor and outdoor type of entertainment. 22,000 people going through the pavilion the U.S. Pavilion every single day. And I should emphasize that, the pavilion experience, it's a 24-minute journey, 3 different parts that's going to help tell the story of invention creation in the United States. But upstairs, we actually have this, again, this VIP multi-purpose space, and that's where we're looking to you to organize special events, special programs. Perhaps your city or state wants to host a delegation or a reception upstairs, or maybe it's just to screen a film. We have that capacity upstairs as well. So there's actually two different things taking place here at the Expo every single day. Our visitors that are coming, and then our VIP program upstairs. Our national day is on Sunday, November 28th, the Sunday after Thanksgiving. We're looking forward to a high-level delegation coming from the United States, consisting of political leadership, corporate leadership, cultural leadership. It'll be a very exciting time when we'll take over the largest convening space at Expo 2020, Al Wasl, for a ceremony and then some events throughout the day. Over. Next slide. So one of the things that we've mentioned before and that we're really excited about, and I think some of you have already expressed interest in, is a state day or a state or a city day. So this is akin, if you want to think about it, it's almost like a pavilion takeover where, we'll still have the standing exhibition downstairs, but it's an opportunity upstairs to do something interesting in the VIP multipurpose space. It's an opportunity to do something outside on the rocket stage. It's an opportunity to do something at the other Expo 2020 venues. So we're very excited about this. It's the first time that we're doing this in such an intentional manner, and it's the best practice that we've seen kind of other international participants do as well. This can be coinciding with a delegation, or it could be something that the city or state decides just to organize here locally with our pavilion team. Next slide. I'll just leave this up here for a second so you can see some of the ideas about what you could do during a city or state day. What I should say is that in the three parts to the exhibit, so the first three exhibits, you're actually on a moving walkway. It's unique, one of a kind of there at Expo. It's taking you through, the history, the freedoms that brought people to America, the inventions that allowed them to create, how those inventions have changed the world. You get off in exhibit 4 and you have this one-of-a-kind show up in the ceiling, as you kind of saw in the video, that will take us to space and beyond. And then you're going to go upstairs through the beauty of our national parks, see some of these, maybe tourist destinations that we're trying to promote, and you get upstairs in what we're calling exhibit 6, Site USA. Study, invest, travel, explore. This is exhibit 6 where people that have been inspired by what they've seen downstairs can act on. Maybe they want to visit the United States. Maybe they want to study in the United States. Saw a comment here in the Q&A just about the education sector and EdTech, and we actually have a focus on Education USA in this exhibit 6, as well as Brand USA and Select USA as well. So our Department of State, our Department of Commerce colleagues, as well as the global mega events that the United States itself is hosting in the next, in this decade. We have the World Cup, Soccer World Cup 2026. We have LA 2028, the Olympics, and potentially we have space for other events that the United States might be hosting. So this is, again, just some ideas of different things that you could be doing with a city or state day, but really we want to leave this to you and your imagination about what you'd like to do when you take over the pavilion. Next slide. These VIP spaces, as I mentioned before, they're a great asset for the United States, and there's something that's available actually to you, cities, states, companies, higher ed, nonprofit organizations, at no charge. And that's actually really important to underscore. There's no charge to reserve or to use those spaces. Now, obviously, there's food and beverage costs, there's a ticket to get onto the premise, but the space itself, we want to make sure is made widely available to everyone that might be interested. And here, as you heard from Thomas Bruns a little bit earlier, like, let's say that you're a company, you're not sure exactly how to enter the market, and you're not sure about who you might want to put on your guest list. Well, the commercial service is a great, first step for you to figure that out, and they'll help work through that process with you. They have, services that they offer, fee-based services to different companies. You might be in a situation where you already know what you want to do. You already know who you want to invite to the event, and you just want to do a dinner with your board members. Maybe it's your regional board, maybe it's your global board. That's something that our Pavilion team can easily work with you on to book that space and put together the menu. Or maybe it's something, again, more extensive, and you want to do a series, a whole day of programming. And that's another opportunity that our business team can work with you on. But it's a great Pavilion space, upstairs, multi-purpose, and we expect to have about 15,000 people go through that space during the 6 months. Next slide. Here you can see, again, just a couple of the examples. We have a pre-function space. We actually have the function space itself. We do seated lunch, dinner, cocktail reception, seminar, screening films. We have the conference room, again, for a meeting, a seated dinner, lunch. All of this is available, again, to cities, states, organizations, businesses that want to do something with us. Next slide. Now, there's been a lot of information here on how you can participate, and I know that, cities, states, you have maybe planned for doing delegations and have access to different resources. But one thing that we do want to flag for you is a program available through the Small Business Administration. As we say here, you can contact your commercial service representative or CEDO for more information. But that's, the STEP grants. Perhaps businesses might be interested in applying for these STEP grants to participate and do something with Expo 2020 Dubai and with the U.S. Pavilion. So again, just a teaser that there is this program out there and points of contact to take that further, but it is something that we are excited about and have that combined with our city and state delegations. Next slide. So I think at this point, just want to leave you kind of with some contact information here. I'm serving in our consulate in Dubai, our head of our Expo unit here, and as the deputy for our Pavilion. My colleague, Kara Snesko, is in our Expo unit in Washington, D.C. at the Department of State, and her contact information is there. It's also sometimes easier to get, a response there in the East Coast time zone as opposed to, 9 hours ahead. And then we have locally here at the Consulate General in Dubai, we have our commercial colleague, Lena Dakar, who is the commercial specialist that supports Thomas and his team as their Expo 2020 lead. So with that kind of concludes our formal presentation here about what the activity is and Expo 2020, how the United States is being represented with our Pavilion, and how you can get involved with a delegation, with a city or state day, and perhaps to do thought programming or bring a speaker for something during the 6 months. So at that point in time, Amy, I think we're going to turn it back over to do the Q&A portion of our event.
All right, great. Thank you, Matthew. What a great presentation. Some great pictures and great information. Yes, now we've reached our question and answer session. If I see that there's already some questions coming up in the Q&A section in the sort of bottom right-hand corner. Eric Podzorski from our Pontiac Expert Assistance Center is going to read those for us. So feel free to put questions in, and we will do our best to answer them. Thank you.
Perfect. Good morning or afternoon, depending on where you are in the world, everybody. Let's see. There's a question on will there be kind of local opportunities for like student field trips to this event?
That's a great question, Jeff. And one of the exciting things about Expo 2020 is that they have a very developed schools program. So, 25 million visits during the 6 months. This Expo has something for everybody. And Expo 2020 is planning to have, again, schools from throughout the United Arab Emirates visit the Expo. And again, there is a kind of schools programming guide, if you will, that will help them on their journeys to see different things and explore. So maybe they are exploring again, the Declaration of Independence or something on religious freedom, or maybe they're just learning more about, the first iPhone, or touching the moon, or looking at Mars, a sample from Mars. But there'll be a schools program, and we're having, again, something that will be part of that journey, so we can make sure to engage that audience. It's something that we're thinking about for speakers as well. So our cultural performers, sometimes they might be doing something on the main stage, something they might do a smaller closed group session, maybe a master class, but maybe, again, something that's more age appropriate for children. But the one thing I do want to kind of leave you with is, it is, again, various audiences. And so, yes, there will be something for school kids. There'll be something for, university, young professionals. But the business audience is kind of one of our key audiences, and one of Expo 2020's key audiences as well. And that's something that they've tried to address in these thematic weeks and these business fora. And there's actually a couple of business-to-business B2B apps that they're going to be using to highlight, when we have delegations here in town as the United States Pavilion, we'll make sure that, other countries are aware of who we have in town in case they want to do some meetings at our pavilion or at their pavilion. But there is something for everybody, and there will be something for school kids as well.
Perfect. The next question we have, which kind of goes into a larger question. Harold is asking, he's a manufacturer of wellness products. Which program would he fit into? And just kind of in general, I've heard that from some EDOs, kind of, how do I get involved in a certain theme week? How do I find out kind of where I fit?
Great question. So again, we do actually have a health and wellness week. It's January 30th to February 5th. This is kind of a key focus, for the United States. It does happen to coincide with Arab Health, and we'll be looking for business leaders to program. We'll be looking for perhaps companies and products to highlight. Maybe it's in that thematic business forum that I mentioned, that, again, small session, 300 people, business connect from around the world. Or maybe it's just something that your company already knows that you want to expand your market. We don't know who exactly that is. And so here, the commercial service can help you on that if you're interested in putting together an event at the pavilion itself. But I would say, again, if it's health and wellness, there is a week focused on that. It's not the only week to be here. Again, I think a lot will depend on kind of like who you're trying to bring over and where there may already be some folks here in town that you might want to engage with. There are, in addition, I should say that in addition to these theme weeks, Expo 2020 is also putting together region-specific events. And so, again, nothing that focuses, on the United States, but in October, the Expo 2020, working with the Dubai Chamber of Commerce, is doing an event focused on the African market, October 13th and 14th. They're doing something in the ASEAN market, December 8th and 9th, and then actually something in Latin America at the end of March 23 to the 24th. So maybe it's thematic, or maybe it's geographic. We encourage you maybe to get in touch with us with what your ideas are or what you're thinking right now.
So Harold had a follow-up question on who should he contact to get involved, which kind of leads into our next question too, which is from Michael, who says, if we have an interest in participating, what's the procedure for getting the approvals, scheduling, other deadlines for proposals?
Yeah, so here, again, you can see our contact information up on the screen right now. Now's the time. We're actually putting together our calendars. There's no deadline. It is kind of like a rolling basis and a rolling admissions process, if you will. So please do reach out. And again, the commerce side, State Department side, and we have a whole team at our pavilion itself. And so they're there to facilitate, to schedule the events, to work with you on, booking a space. We don't yet have our food and beverage catering menu available. We're in the process of finalizing our vendor for that, but it is something that we can give you an estimate, an idea of kind of what those things are, but we're happy to talk to you about that.
Would it be best then to put all three emails in your email and kind of let the group sorted out, you thinking?
I would say here, again, like if it's something with Dubai and the Pavilion, happy to have our unit here in Dubai kind of take that forward, and then we can, work with Commerce or the Pavilion as appropriate. If you already know that you need to work with a commercial service, great to work with Lena. If you happen to be in DC and are trying to connect and Kara's there, you can use that as a DC-based contact.
Perfect. We have a question from Rosanna. What would be the most valuable participation, or what would be the best way for a small company in technology focused on energy and infrastructure? Which theme week would be best for them? And then also she's asking, will there actually be like a stand or a booth for them?
Yeah, so I might take that second question here first, and it's one of the things that I think is good for folks to have to understand is that this is not a trade show, and I think that's something that we want to make sure people kind of leave this presentation knowing that. Rather, this is again the World's Fair with our country pavilion and an opportunity to engage with different audiences. So in our VIP space upstairs, again, there's the opportunity to use that for different functions that you wanted to do. There's the Rocket Courtyard stage that we have. If it's if it's a larger event, we can put it on one of the Expo 2020 venues that are outside. But it's not a traditional, again, fair where people have booths or stands per se. But, please reach out and let us know kind of what you're thinking, and there might be some way of kind of working with you on that. But it is explicitly not kind of a trade show, a trade fair type of thing. Your question regarding, energy and infrastructure, really good question. There is a theme week that's a little bit more linked, not on energy per se, but urban and rural development. It's happening at the end of October, and that actually has a big transportation focus. So I know previously we've been talking to some folks from Michigan, and they were interested in, when might they be interested in coming out here focused on transportation or mobility. There is some transportation focus at the end of October. There's also Travel and Connectivity Week that's at the, more the beginning of January. But energy per se is not something that is one of the theme week focuses, but it may be kind of what comes out of that in the specific technology and company that you're interested in. But again, that's something that if you're a small company here, and I'm maybe turn it over to Thomas to kind of add in on how like a small company interested in a particular sector might be able to help explore the market.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. Just to add on that great advice, while there isn't a specific week during Expo on energy, as Matt mentioned earlier, this period of time from October through April is a key trade show period in the UAE, and the largest trade show in the region is ADIPEC, which Matt mentioned earlier, which I believe is in November. We'd have to go back to the actual dates. It's in Abu Dhabi, which is only an hour and 15 minutes away. So you could imagine a situation where you come in, participate in ADIPEC, which frankly, rivals the Offshore Technology Conference in a lot of ways, and then go and use Expo to perhaps highlight that technology and wrap yourself around the American flag at Expo on the sidelines of ADIPEC. So the idea is whatever sector you're in, not only do you have opportunities during Expo, but you have opportunities through these other trade shows in different sectors like Arab Health, like ADIPEC, which you can then amplify through an event or an activity at the pavilion. Over.
Perfect. That's all the questions we have. If anybody else wants to get in a quick one, we'll give you a second. Otherwise, I think we can wrap up. All righty. Amy, do you want to take it over?
All right. Well, Thank you, everybody, for being here with us today and for a great discussion. You see up there, up on the screen right now, again, contact information for Matthew and as well as for Kara in DC and for our commercial specialists in Dubai as well, Alina Dakar. You'll also see the website for the Pavilion where you can find out more information or review some of the information you heard here today. You can follow the Expo Pavilion on several different platforms. And again, just thank you to all of our speakers.
Thanks, Amy, and look forward to seeing everyone at Expo 2020 Dubai.
Great.
Thank you, everyone. This concludes today's webinar. Thank you for joining. Goodbye.